Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Patrick from the ISP Group. Today we have joining us Drew Colburn from Drew Colburn Luxury Real Estate, and the company we're going to talk about today. He's spearheading the Market Maker CRE platform. You can check that out at marketmakercre.com. But we want to welcome Drew. Hi, everybody. Hi, Drew. How's it going today?
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man. What's going on with you?
Nothing, man. Just trying to keep my hair out of the rain.
That's time. Actually, me too. For real, though?
For real now?
No, it's great. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate your time today. I've been wanting to touch base with you. We did connect last week. We had some technical difficulties, so I really appreciate you jumping back on with us here at Sales and Cigars. And, cigars, being the most pivotal part of the show today, of course. And then sales can sometimes take a backseat to cigars. And actually, cigars are a great way to build relationships, to push deals forward. I gotta say, today, Drew, I think I saw you had a Placentia, right? You got a
Placentia. I have a Placentia today.
Nice. Let me see that in the camera. Can you put that up for the audience?
So, one of my guilty pleasures, my only guilty pleasures, Coca-Cola and a cigar. So we are.
Coca-Cola, how dare you?
How dare I? Though I had Italian Coke for the first time, Coca-Cola, should I re-emphasis, at this little Cucina Lab in Troy, Michigan, family-owned and operated, but they had Italian Coke, and the difference between Italian Coke and American Coke is Italian Coke is pure cane sugar, which is a real nice, different taste than the high fructose corn syrup that's so bad for you.
Yeah, I think that's how they do it in Mexico as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
You ever had the Mexican Coca-Cola?
Oh yeah.
And we're not pitching Coca-Cola here today, folks. Personally, I'm a Spindrift drinker, and this podcast is sponsored by Spindrift. Oh, I'm kidding. But it's a great day out today. It is a little rainy here in Michigan. We're here to talk about cigars, sales, business, Drew's business, some of my business. Again, I'm Patrick Montgomery, CEO, founder of the ISP Group. You can find our website at innovativesellingpartners.com. We really work to solve systemic sales challenges throughout organizations. Companies have us come in and we go out and train 3-day intervals every quarter. And then we have a weekly engagement with all of our customers throughout the entire year. So we're starting at a foundational level and working a progressive program for our customers to get all of their AEs, all of their sales rep to the highest performing level for their entire organization. It's a really concerted effort from the executive team all the way out through the sales channels to ensure everyone is utilizing the same strategies, language, story, messaging throughout the entire organization. So that's what we do. And, we're going to talk a lot about what Drew does in a minute here. So thanks for your patience. But first, we're going to do the ceremonial cigar lighting. And I just wanted to show you what I got here, guys. I have a Liga Privada. This is by Drew Estates. Drew Estates. There are no coincidences, right? I might have to leave this one up today. And then I have the Foundation Tabernacle. This is a Churchill. It's a really big, nice, I think 7-something inch cigar. And these are wonderful cigars by Foundation. These are both hand-rolled cigars, just really good, deep, full flavor cigars, really good stuff. And I do have a machine-made cigar here by Oliva, and I believe, I forgot. I think this is by Jay Cortez or something, but these are machine-rolled, really beautiful cigars. I think there's 7 different variations of leaf in here and I think these may be Connecticut wrappers. I'm not sure, but they're a beautiful cigar. I really want to smoke this one today, but I think I'm going to stick with the Liga Privada because it's by Drew Estates.
There you go.
over here today. So I'm actually going to use a V cut. I think Drew did a punch cut, right?
I did a punch. Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and do the ceremonial cutting. Oh, that was a sharp cutter, man. And I like the V cut. You can see, it's kind of a V. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a straight cut, V cut, punch cut, I believe it's called, and it's kind of pops a hole in the end. And this is just going to be a great cigar for our conversation today. So let's do it, Drew. Ceremonial lighting. Here we go. And, we may get kicked on TikTok for having, a younger audience promoting cigars and bad habits. So I wouldn't be surprised if TikTok kicks us. They're really strict about this type of thing. So, oh, well, screw TikTok. I don't care anyway.
Yep, I agree.
Now, we typically talk about some current events going out there in the media right now. And, we lost Drew. Where's Drew go? He went to get an ashtray.
Yeah, I didn't feel that it would be apropos to toss this
Guys,
on the floor.
Real quick, I want to talk about where we're at right now. We're broadcasting live from Smokies in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, excuse me. And this is Metro Detroit's premier cigar lounge. They have the best humidor with the best brands. It's the best group of people that you'll ever be around. And it's got a cigar lounge, private lounge. It's got a back area. It also has a golf simulator. So there's a lot of
rooms,
a lot of golfers coming in and out. And we are just out in the front lounge, right? I've been coming here for quite a while. We are kind of friends with the Essas, who are the owners of Smokies here, Paul, Pete, and
family owned and operated.
Family owned, and they are Metro Detroit's premier wholesale distributor for cigars as well. So a lot of the other cigar shops in Michigan, I'm sure I'm going to get slaughtered for saying this, get their cigars from Smokies because they have the best selection and the best prices, quite honestly. I'm a big fan of a lot of other places around Metro Detroit area, but this is, kind of our stomping grounds because my business, Drew, is out of Birmingham. And I know that Drew's business also is local here in Michigan. Where are you guys out of?
We're out of Rochester in Michigan and out of Naples, Florida, down in Southwest Florida as well.
Nice. How often get down to Florida then?
As often as I need to. If I have a client down there, I'll fly down there same day, fly home, or spend a couple days, preferably with the wife, and she can go to the beach and I can go sell real estate. So it all works. But normally I'm there, anywhere from 7 to 10 days every month, which is not a bad habit to have.
Guys, I have really selfish motives with this podcast. This is how I get people on to pressure them into closing business with me. And so I'm going to be working on closing Drew today to trade his salespeople so he can fly us down to Florida. And we're going to start next winter. Okay. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's a great thing.
Book in January.
Yeah, absolutely. But so some big news today. O.J. Simpson died. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard about that. O.J.
The juice.
Seeing all the memes of the Bronco Hearst. The white Bronco Hearst.
They did not. They did not do that.
They did. It was all over social media, the Bronco Hearst. And,
that is the best. Oh, my God. Our condolences to O.J. Simpson's family.
Do you remember where you were when you watched that?
No, I was probably like, somewhere with a bunch of friends smoking weed or something. I don't know.
I was in Ann Arbor, rugby, at an apartment watching it on TV as it unfolded.
I honestly don't remember where I was. I do remember where I was when I found out Kurt Cobain had died. And I was in a kitchen at a restaurant. It was just so surreal. he was like my idol. Like Nirvana was like so big in my youth. It was crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But not OJ. I don't remember where I was. But yeah, what a crazy thing with the LA riots and all that. You know,
Yeah,
unbelievable. That
unbelievable.
whole trial, just taking up our whole landscape of American media and our culture. What a crazy time in the United States that was, huh?
Very crazy, very crazy. That's for sure.
And so, what have you been listening to lately? Any things stick out for you lately? What's been going on with you?
Uh, I've re-immersed myself into some Tony Robbins. So all day long when I'm at the office working, which I'm not there, I'm there a couple hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day. I got Tony Robbins playing in the background. He has a new yearly subscription that I just subscribed to, and looking forward to going and seeing him in November. I believe 14th in New Jersey. So.
That's great.
Anything that sharpens the tools is good for you. I don't care if it's music, I don't care if it's podcasts. I really don't even care if it's cartoons. If it helps you relax and helps you center, I believe it's really good for you.
Well, and a lot of people we're talking to today live really busy lives. A lot of them are in corporate America. They have bosses. They are bosses. They work in a really hectic environment, a lot of stress. There's a lot of things, family, work, business, entrepreneurship. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives. And I would agree with you. There has to be some sort of outlet. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I think that he's got some really good content, if you will. I was bigger on him probably 10 years ago. I bought, I had the box set of, I forget what it was, but it was some pretty good stuff that really helped me where I was at the time. And I remember that, it was a totally different elevation in my life and career going through those workshops. Definitely.
Yeah, and it's funny. Our age difference is a little bit more pronounced. That you had the box set, where, I started with the cassette tapes.
Oh
So
my gosh. Yeah, I was on CD only, man. I still have, actually, there's somewhere in my house a big box of Tony Robbins CDs. But I've actually been kind of interacting with that team lately, the Tony Robbins team, and I'm still a big fan of those guys. And what I like about that group of kind of individuals, his team that works with him, I think they have about 100 employees with him, and then he's kind of the leader of the pack of the Tony Robbins Corporation, is that they do have a lot of really good practical kind of advice for daily living rather than just motivation. And that's been a big theme of ours, is we have to step out of this mindset of we need motivation to get results in our life, our business, our family. And so I'm huge on just doing the work despite how I feel. And motivation is great, but it's not sustainable, and it leaves us set up for failure, and then it leaves us wanting and waiting. How many times have you been had a friend invite you out and you said, or let's go work out, Drew, or whatever. And, I'm just not motivated to do the thing that, you're asking me to do or that I'm called to do. I don't have the motivation. So it's interesting. Tony Robbins, programs like that, programs like ours, right? ISP Group, we help, AEs, teams, sales managers, directors, even executive offices to break through some of these barriers of, kind of that rigid process of not being able to do that activity.
Yep. No, I get it. And that's important. A lot of what you teach and a lot of what you implement, Patrick, is so critical into an organization. And what I have found is even some of the best organizations getting back to the basics and centering themselves on a client-focused sales process is so important, even if they're incredibly successful. I always take something away from every training that I've ever had throughout my life, and I'm a consummate reader and re-educator, and I'll listen to some of the same things over and over again, and I'll pull different things out every time. But a lot of these sales organizations look at their KPIs and they look at their numbers and they say, "Hey, we're doing great. We don't need a sales trainer." I would actually argue that's when you need a sales trainer, because by the time it's starting to fall over the hill and numbers are starting to fall off, it's a little too late. You got to turn that ship around consistently every year and get someone like yourself into the organization to teach those basics, reteach those basics, and enforce the gratitude-based selling that you inspire.
Yeah, and I would kind of beg to differ on a couple of those points, but thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I think.
Well, I want to hear your differences too. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. Like everything you said is pretty spot on. Where I would kind of veer from that would be is the Q1 numbers came in from sales, right, all across the board, through many segments, through many verticals, industries in the U.S. And I think nationally, the number was at 64% of AEs and sales reps hit their number in Q1. Right. And so they may have hit their numbers, right? These corporate organizations, whatever industry you're talking about, they may have hit their team's goal, their company number, that they might have hit that nut. They might have hit their number and met all their quotas and goals. Where we see a huge disconnect is that a few of their sales guys, right, are really carrying the teams. There's a core group of sales people that are carrying their organization, right? And then there's a real large group of mid-range salespeople that are barely hitting their number, that aren't really hitting it, month to month, quarter to quarter, might hit, might not hit. And then there's a chunk of just underperformance, right?
Right.
Where there's a group of guys that just can't seem to figure it out, and gals that just can't seem to figure it out or get it together. They're not aligning, or there's no, they're having issues with culture and communication through their organization. And there's other issues happening, right? So it's all really about digging into these core challenges and systemic challenges of why there's this huge disconnect between these organizations. And I appreciate the conversation, but I didn't really come here to talk about me all day, honestly. But I really could talk about this all day long, and I think that it does warrant conversations to really dig into some of these systemic challenges with a lot of companies. So everyone that is watching today knows how to contact us. So I think, give us a call, give us a chat, and let us know. And we'd love to have a consultation with you and your company. That's my pitch.
There's your pitch.
But yeah, so at the end of the day, what's important, right? It's, to me, really, it's family. Honestly, yeah. I can say, hitting my number, corporate, alignment, all this jargon crap, right? But at the end of the day, I want to live a happy life, support my life, grow financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, and I want to have a good life with my family, right? And so tell us a little about you. You got a family, right? Tell us a little about your family.
Got a beautiful wife in the mortgage industry. Hi, Ruth. She's traveling with her daughter today. It's our second marriage, so we have some bonus children in between. I got 3 daughters. Rachel, who's selling cloud software in Nashville, kicking ass, taking names. Very proud of her. I'm very proud of all of them. I got my middle child's just graduating Michigan State, off to law school. Then I got my youngest child, who is up in Northern Michigan University, up in the beautiful city of Marquette. She's an environmental science major and just enjoying UP living at its finest. And I just booked an Airbnb last night to spend the end of the month with her for her birthday. And we're going to cook and hike and see Lake Superior. Last spring, we did a lake trout guided trip If you've not done a Lake Superior lake trout trip, it's definitely a really, really cool trip. We boated 5 lake trout at about 32 to 38 inches. Then we cooked them up at the end of the day and had us a feast. So, those are points, Patrick, as you say, that's what life's about. It's those times where you can connect with your loved ones without the worry, without worrying financially, with being there emotionally and physically and spiritually, and in just enjoying the environment that I live for. And no matter what sales organization or company that I'm in the middle of, as over the years I've grown a lot of companies, primarily in the real estate sector, and one thing that I really am very happy, and it took me a long time to find, was that work-life balance that is so important in my happiness metric. That work-life balance where I'm not overworked, that I'm making a good wage, but I can spend time and actually be present for the ones I love.
That's a really good point. I appreciate that a lot. It's so difficult in sales. So I know, Drew, you're in sales. I mean, that's your core business. Obviously, it's all of our core business, right? Sales, that's how we generate revenue and make money at all of our businesses. And I'm in sales. I sell my services and I train my services. We're all in sales, right? You're a salesperson, Drew. And I know how hard it is. So I've been in sales in corporate America for a lot of years, right? And at first it was a huge adjustment. I had been married probably a few years anyway, and we were going on vacations, started to make a little money, and I would work on vacation. And honestly, I still do. I'm guilty of that, obviously, and it's become a necessity, and I understand that, and I know there'd been a push kind of in corporate America to, turn off your laptop on vacation, don't answer your cell phone. And quite frankly, and when I'm in sales in corporate America, working in strategic and enterprise accounts, it's almost like I can't really do that, right? And it's become something that my family has come to accept. And I don't know, my company might say, right, turn off your laptop, turn off your cell phone on vacation, don't answer any emails, whatever. But at the same time, like, I want to be there for my customers. Like, I'm pulled in two different directions. I want to actually move deals forward and close deals, right? So, I mean, I could take a call on vacation that pays for the entire vacation, right? And, and so, my wife has come to accept that I work on vacation. I work sometimes on weekends. I travel quite a bit. And it's just something I've had to adjust to over a lot of years. But we've become really accustomed to just me, taking calls in the morning, waking up early on vacation, going down to the pool, doing my laptop, whatever. Family wakes up, and then I'm done, right? So it's definitely something I understand if people want to turn off, and unplug, if you will. It's just nothing. It's something I've never been able to do or wrap my head around, honestly, in sales.
But
I'm
my
eviscerated for that one as well.
My counter argument to that, Patrick, is I really enjoy what I do. I'm happy in what I do. So for me to work a little bit on vacation, I feel that that's more of a blessing and less of a curse. A lot of people are like, oh, you don't unplug, you don't stop. Well, you know what? I'm not geared that way, and when my clients need me, they need me, and what I've learned is to set acceptable boundaries around it to where I'm not wasting time. So the time I'm spending on vacation at work is just a finite amount of time to serve my clients' needs. Then I cut it off and go back to my vacation.
Yeah.
And that's important too. I mean, I'm not an advocate of working 24/7, but I find myself working 7 days a week. But I love what I do. I love building real estate and software, sales teams, and with doing that comes a certain amount of pride. It'd be like if you were a professional athlete. I have a couple friends that are professional athletes, and when they're on season, they're on season. They're on 7 days a week. Whether it's nutrition, whether it's that run in the morning, whether it's that stretch, 3 times a day to stay limber, they're always working at their craft, and that's how I figure it.
Yeah, and for those who don't know Drew personally, I've known Drew for a couple months, and we've been in pretty consistent contact over these couple months. And Drew is a fired up guy, man. Like, he's fired up for his family. He's fired up for his health, his spiritual state of mind. He's really just a great father who is there for his family. And he's a great businessman and friend. He's you're probably one of the nicest guys I know, honestly. I was sitting around in Smokies last week talking about you to some friends, and I was like, they knew who you were or whatever. And I was like, that guy is a special dude. And I'm glad to have you in my life. I didn't mean to go off on that emotional rant there, but, so I just want to say that, man, like, going on vacation, like being in sales, having a good social group, a good spiritual group, like, it's good to just be fired up about life. I don't have time to not be fired up. I don't have time to surround myself with negative people that, are constantly sucking the life out of you, right? And so we got to lead in these ways as individuals, as managers, as directors, as executive, managers, and, and executives for our businesses. We got to lead with that passion. We got to lead being fired up, and that will be infectious to the people around us. I'm still not big on motivation. That's not really what I'm talking about, but it's about that deep internal work from the inside out that we just exude. I guess just growth and really just being fired up for our life.
The conscious choice of just being happy every day, making that choice to be thankful, and not a religious rant. I'm a Christian. I'm thankful to God every day, but I wake up with gratitude that I have another one. I mean, I just got word yesterday that a guy I played rugby with at Michigan had passed away at 56. That's way too young, but that also reminded me that every day is a gift. And I'm gonna try to live it as happy as humanly possible. And listen, it's human just to get down in the dumps and say, "Oh, woe is me," but being cognizant of that and acknowledging it and going, "Okay, this is not serving my greater good. What serves my greater good is me being thankful, me living in gratitude, me being happy for what I have." Not worried about yesterday, and more focused on the present, and really more focused on being present in the present. There's so many people that are present, they're not present in the present. They're there, they show up, but they're thinking about next week or next year or the next sale rather than focusing on that 3 minutes you and I have together sometimes, Patrick, or that 2-minute phone call that happens in the middle of Jeopardy. And I have to put Jeopardy on pause and actually focus and be present. And we laugh about it, but I find more and more with the social media and the TikTok and Instagram and the Snapchat that our attention's wavering too many places constantly, and a lot of people are having problems with just being present, focusing on the here and now.
That's good stuff, man. And isn't that what sales is all about, honestly, is being present for your prospects and customers? Is like you stay in the moment with them and understand and know their pain and help them solve these challenges, and you have to put yourself in their shoes to understand what they're going through. And we talk a lot about being an expert in your customer's domain, right? That sounds nice and kind of corporate jargony, but really what it's about is having empathy and understanding their pain and having a solution to solve that pain and to bring them value through solving that. What is the quantifiable result of you solving that pain for your customer, that challenge they're having with their back end system, with their sales process, la 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 la. And so let's talk about that a little. With as far as I want to talk about Drew Colburn luxury real estate. I also want to talk about remind me the name. Market
Maker CRE, which is our commercial software platform that we're launching.
Yeah, do you want to give us an overview of either of those, and then we'll move on to the next one?
So with my real estate practices, both Detroit and Naples, I have 32 years of experience, broker owner. And what we do is we solve customers' problems. I got a couple of attorneys on their, probably on their last two purchase sales of their life. And we had to take a lot of time together to get their house ready to get optimum dollar for it so they can maximize their move to Texas. And in doing so, we really do a personal approach to each and every client. Nothing against, there's a lot of great realtors out there. I tend to run a very small company. I think in Michigan we're eight people strong, but they're the eight right people that constantly do everything for the benefit of their client. Down in Naples, we have a little bit bigger of a sales team, but what we specialize in is anywhere from a first-time home buyer to, I have a $6.5 million listing that was on Fox 2 last week. I don't know if you saw that, Patrick. I was on Fox with that listing, and it provided a surge of phone calls and people interested in it. And knock on wood, we'll get an active buyer here in the next 7 days to 2 weeks to go from there. And that's what the real estate foundation does for me. A number of years ago, I was invited to consult into a software company. It wasn't named Market Maker at the time. We eventually sold it in 2007. The company that bought it bankrupted. A couple of years ago, we got all of our software and patents out of Iron Mountain, and we continued to redevelop the patents around commercial real estate, mainly in the REIT trust and family office end. Any operator that has $30 million or more in assets, most of our operators have billions of dollars of commercial real estate around the country, and we uncover a lot of things that they couldn't see in the past, far as analytics are concerned. What people are looking to sell, what people are looking to buy, at what cap rates they're looking to buy. So we take an opaque market and provide clarity through a patented software system based solely on the analytics. And we should launch within the next 90 days. We're uploading into our system, and we're not a sales system. We're a software service system. So we're uploading billions of dollars of properties a week. In fact, the past 2 weeks was about $15 billion worth of properties got uploaded into our site. And we uncover a lot of interesting things for the asset managers. There's, I might seem tight-lipped because I am, because pre-launch you always are. We are patented protected. But if you're an asset manager anywhere in the country that buys and sells commercial real estate, you'd probably want to give me a call to have a discussion on how specifically our software can help unlock about $20 trillion worth of a market that was never unlocked prior to our development of the software. So it's really cool. It's really intense right now in the startup world. We raised $9.5 million, $10 million to get to where we're at, and we're there finally. But it was a lot of labor to get to this point, and a lot of smarter people behind the system than me, where I come in and do the day-to-day sales training, processes, and motivation of the team, along with consulting on how, why, or what the software should look like. But in 90 days, we're going to have me back, and I'll give you some indicators on the launch. I was just in Manhattan. I dealt with 3 of the largest real estate investment trusts in the country, which all agreed to adopt our platform. And these guys are sitting on billions of dollars of cash to deploy without the ability to find something that fits their parameters to buy. And we can unlock all that for them. And they were very thrilled to have us in their office overlooking the Hudson River. Poor boy from Youngstown, Ohio, living the city life in Manhattan was kind of cool for a while, and being invited into those rooms was very humbling, very humbling. But we're happy to launch that very soon. In the meantime, I still sell a tremendous amount of real estate. First quarter was a great quarter. I look at how many customers I help. It's going to be a very trying residential market in Southeast Michigan because of product. Now that changes in Naples, Florida, because 2 years ago we had 720 properties in the MLS for sales 2 years ago in Naples. Now there's over 5,000. So what you've seen is a really big increase in return down there, that now, because the economy and inflation's hitting, that people are saying, okay, I've seen my return. I'm going to get out of that market. Some people are taking money out of that market and going a little north up to Fort Myers, where it buys a lot more for that type of money than in Naples. Some people are taking that money in Naples and even going farther south to buy bigger, badder, nicer places. And some people are just taking their money off the table and going, hey, this set me up for retirement. I made 70% on my house in Naples in a 4-year period, and it's time to get out and just relax a little bit more. So there's a lot of different moving parts in both markets. But again, it's all about being present, and it's all about solving a problem. If I can't solve the problem, a lot of times it's unsolvable. I mean, when my kids were growing up, they would come to me and say, Dad, are we having a lot of problems today? And I'd say, yeah, honey, we're having a lot of problems. And they're like, great, because I want a new American Girl doll. And I tell you, that had an impact on their adulthood in life, because they now assimilate problems with revenue. Listen, nothing is easy that has money in it. If you're going to make money, it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be arduous, and it's going to be a lot of heavy lifting, and same with real estate. But, the problems that I have equal the revenue that I earn, and I'm thankful for that. I lost you on audio.
I would say, there you go. You should have me back. I would say you're a very modest guy. You're very humble. I like how you play off the poor country boy in Manhattan.
I literally grew up on a farm, so.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. But for the audience, Drew is a sought-after luxury real estate, leader in the Metro Detroit area that sells $30 million houses, by the way.
Yeah. I'm blessed. I deal with a lot of amazing, great customers, and the one thing that when I was on Fox 2, they asked me what my customer who has a $6.5 million home up in Oakland Township, how'd they get there, and they didn't get there by a silver spoon. They got there by hard work.
Yep.
And a lot of us have, and a majority of us have, and even if you were born with a little bit, that doesn't equate to keeping it, as we have found. I have some friends born into very wealthy families that had to rebuild after 2008. Especially if they were property centric. I know it cost me a lot of money, the crash of 2008, and I guess one of the funniest things I hear in not a day to day, but on a monthly basis, I'm waiting for the next crash. And my response is, I'm waiting for the next 1932, but I haven't seen that happen yet either. So, markets don't normally crash twice in a lifetime like they did in 2008. We overcorrected, and now it's gonna be 100 years before I pray we never see it in 2008 again. It was really awful for a lot of people.
Yeah, it had us questioning a lot, definitely financially, my wife and I and our kids. But we made it through. We did have a rental property that we were able to keep through that, which really helped us out. But that's great, good stuff, man. I really appreciate that. So yeah, I have had the opportunity to see, a market maker CRE at probably a 30,000 foot level, very high level, right? And I've sold and I've been around software for a lot of years. Uh, can you speak to kind of the intuitiveness of this program and how this is going to be a very simple solution to solve really complex challenges for your customers?
Well, I mean, we can take a look at the way commercial real estate's bought and sold for the past 100 years hasn't really changed. Um, you know, your realtor takes some pictures, they gather a little bit of financial information, they come up with what things have sold for in the past, and they price it accordingly to where they think things are going to. And I say think with a little bit of pause, because there's not an analytic out there or not a software solution out there that actually integrates acquisition and disposition plans the way we do throughout the REIT trust and family office. So we have unlocked the crystal ball when it comes to what people are looking for in the future, to what they're going to sell in the future, and not only what they're going to buy and sell, but at what cap rate, what specific geographical location, what type of property they're looking for, and how it waves into the ebb and flow, where assisted living used to be the banner word and everyone was building assisted living, and now we've seen assisted living slow down to a trickle and multifamily soar to the top, because multifamily is where a lot of people are positioning their money in the future, and there's my reasoning on that, and there's what the facts are in the market, and the fact that home affordability has become unaffordable in a lot of cities. I mean, we live in Metro Detroit, and as Patrick, from being around the country, a small house in Royal Oak, Michigan, that's 400,000. That same house in Seattle is a 1.2 million. So we have some affordable real estate and jobs in the Detroit area, where a lot of areas don't have that affordable housing. And if they have the affordable housing, they don't have the jobs to support the payments. You go back to my hometown of Youngstown, Ohio, where you can still buy $150,000 house in a decent community, but there's no job base to support the payments of that house. So you're seeing a whole transition within the United States of affordability, and that's why multifamily, they're building everywhere. I was just in downtown Lake Orion, where the Mosheris are building right around the water a townhome style multifamily, and they're going to build probably 50, 60, 70 units there. because that's what people want. And fortunately enough, that's what they can afford rather than home ownership. You look at what Amazon's done in the warehousing industry that wasn't around 5 years ago. So now you have these mega warehouses of 100,000 square foot popping up all over the United States because we're shipping packages from Amazon. But then you have Lakeside Mall that's going to get tore down to do multifamily, mixed use office, and 55 and older. And that was big headlines that the city of Sterling Heights just granted another, I think, $4 million for the ability to acquire more properties around Lakeside Mall to make that project happen. And how that ebbs and flows with the tax base, because Lakeside Mall doesn't pay that much in tax compared to 300 single family homes. So these communities want diversity and they want tax base, and that comes in a couple different facets depending upon what the municipality is. So the whole commercial real estate market is evolving, just like it always has evolved. And in some cases, I think the residential market is tightening because you go to, I lost you on audio, but tightening means the first time home buyer entry level home like you and I had when we were in our 20s. It's not attainable as it once was in America, and we're going to be forced to rent a little longer in the process, almost like some of my Canadian friends who graduate university, then they move back home for 3 to 5 years to get the down payment that they're going to need to afford a home in Canada. And we're almost going to that matrix of more of a rental market than a ability to graduate college or go into the workforce and work for GM, Ford, Chrysler, and the union and buy your first house in your early 20s, because the market, the amount of cost has increased tremendously. The amount of scrutiny on your mortgage has increased tremendously, and the ability to put very little money down has become very difficult because interest rates, cost of home, cost of borrowing money, and income restrictions on some of those mortgage applications where they don't allow, they might not allow your commissions. They might allow your salary, which is going to buy you X, but commissions plus salary allows you to buy X times 30% more. So
a lot of societal challenges for sure. Wages staying a bit stagnant, inflation going up. I have Gen Z kids that are concerned that they'll never be able to buy a house. Right? How big of a concern is that? You see any trends towards the other way, or you said we're leaning towards a rental market? Is that a reality? Is that a direction we're looking at really realistically going towards in this country?
If you look at the amount, we're doing a project in Grand Rapids I'm consulting on right now. The city of Grand Rapids thinks they are, in their studies, they need 15,000 more rental units for the demand in Grand Rapids alone. And a lot of that is because of home affordability and the ability not to be able to afford, a $30,000 down payment when you can afford $1,500 a month. And we're seeing it all around the country with a lot of the Reach Trust family offices that I deal with are all really focused on multifamily has their new 5-year business model. And in 5 years, maybe that changes a little bit. You run out of land. Again, if you're outside of Houston, there's land, but you have an hour and a half commute to get to Houston to go get to your job, is that really realistic? Is someone, I know my kids aren't going to commute an hour and a half. In fact, when my daughter, God bless her soul, moved to Nashville, her two criteria on where she picked to live was, can she walk to the office, and was it near a dog park for her dog? She can't afford to buy in the neighborhood that she's in, but she can afford to rent in that neighborhood. And we're seeing that continue all around the country the same way.
And that's not really a great thing, right? I mean, do you have an opinion on that? I mean, it seems like it would be better to design a system or to fix some of these systemic challenges around, younger generations not being able to buy a house. In fact, I heard, I have kids that are Gen Zs, and I see some of their, social media going on, and I saw a Gen Z guy saying, I hope there's a, crash so we can eventually someday buy a house, right? This idea that the only way I'm going to be able to buy a house is if if there's a huge real estate crash and everything fails, right?
Well, and you can see, you can read the headlines and say private equity and some of the hedge funds own upwards to hundreds of thousands of homes that are now turned into rental properties. So when you're sitting in a market that's scarce enough, where cash is king, a home seller that gets an offer from a Gen Z that has 5% down, so it's providing no certainty of close, then the private equity firm right behind them offers almost the same asking price in cash. They're going to take the cash. So it shrinks that market even smaller. And yes, things have to change. And I can ask anyone, I'm in my 50s, Patrick, you're in your 40s, right? What was some of the best investments that we've made over the years were the real estate that we bought.
100%.
And now if you take that vehicle as an investment away from Gen Z, what are they left with? How do they retire? It's not going to be Social Security. It's going to be, they're going to have to really scale back their lifestyle tremendously and save. And unfortunately, that was our grandparents' motto. It's not my children's motto, though they save and they're cognizant of it, but they're not going to save like our grandparents did with the garden in the backyard and the canning and the sacrificing just to make ends meet. The whole world's changed, and unfortunately, the real estate market in a lot of ways have changed with it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it's going to pan out, But I don't think that the younger generations feel very hopeful that it's going to turn in a positive direction towards them being able to invest in any, significant real estate. And I don't know. I mean, these are big conglomerates buying up these houses in the U.S. Correct? And
yeah,
are they U.S. based companies doing this?
Some of them are. One of the biggest ones out of Toronto, so a Canadian-based company. Then you add the other layer to the onion is all the Airbnbs. So a lot of these cities have tightened licenses for the Airbnbs. I go up to Marquette a lot to visit my youngest, and I always Airbnb there. And Marquette has a stringent Airbnb license. If you go to buy a house that has an Airbnb license attached to it, it's worth 40% more than a regular house down the street you can't Airbnb. So there's another whole segment of the market that just moved to unattainable, not to mention the hedge funds, the private equities, and the fact that we're not building that because of the cost of materials and the cost of labor. We're not building a lot of affordable homes, at least not in Metro Detroit. You see your starting price in a lot of these communities that were entry level communities are 400,000 or 500,000. And I know my kids, even with a college degree, it's going to be very difficult, and they're going to have to save for years before they're going to be able to buy their first home, which is a far cry from what the American dream was, which was having home ownership and having an investment vehicle other than what you save, helping you get towards retirement.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's tough, having young kids, and hopefully, we have a large enough nest egg to kind of carry them over while they're going through that entire process, right? I mean, that's the goal, right? So, how are you utilizing, sales methodologies, sales processes, and strategies in your space? I know from the real estate, angle, as well as your software platform. What kind of strategies and sales are you guys implementing to really drive value for your customers?
So in the residential world, it's a little different because it's more sniper attack. And I'll give you a scenario. Again, 32 years of experience. Get a call a couple days ago from a very well-known client in the area. Wants to live on a lake, and he's like, you're going to have to find me what I want, because I just looked at realtor.com and there's nothing out there. I made 3 phone calls and found 4 properties that aren't even on the market, and we're going to see 2 of them on Monday. So instead of having the ability of an inventory, you have to really think outside the box when you don't have an inventory, and there's a lot of secret sauce strategies and implementations that my firms use in order to find those off-market properties, in particular on the mid to higher end things. And it's a lot of farming, and it's a lot of social media presence, and it's a lot of going the extra mile for people, and a lot of it is database management in a ethical, conscious way. A lot of people will just throw gobbledygook to stay in front of their clients, where we really are precise. And I'll call clients. I run into clients all the time, no matter where I'm at in the world. My kids laugh because we can be in Istanbul and I'll run into a client. It's just the way it goes. But having those relationships where you can pick up a phone and someone will answer it or return a call, like I just did a couple days ago on finding a lakefront property for my client. I made 2 phone calls, and all of a sudden I have 3 properties that aren't listed that are valuable for him. So having a great reputation, putting your clients' needs first is quintessential. Then that changes the sales focus when we're in the REIT trust and the software firm, because it's more of a cadence environment where you want to be touching base, making sure they got your information. And if they don't have the information, knowing that you're the expert to explain the information to them in a reasonable, quick facet, because they have to go hunt and gather, because that's what they do for a living. And all we're doing is providing them with an extra tool to hunt and gather.
Are you seeing most of your leads coming inbound, or are you spending a significant effort on outbound self-generated leads? Mix of both, or
with the residential stuff, it pretty much comes to me. I don't, I keep present in the market. I treat everyone honestly and ethically, and I do the right thing, no matter if it's going to cost me money or not. Um, and the reputation, once you get to that reputation, the market keeps flowing towards you because you're always doing the right thing. In the software firm, we actually buy lists of asset and disposition managers throughout the country, and we have coordinated teams that are all on the upper end of the sales cycle making cold calls. And
Okay.
we want them to take at least 4 hours a week and be on the phone. And once we get a client that is interested, we invite them to a PowerPoint meeting that I will sit in on, and we'll go through the way the software works, because that's the only way to describe it is by seeing it. We go through a brief demo, 15, 20 minutes. And, I've been on 22 of them this week, I think, and 20 of them to Next Steps. And
Okay.
Next Steps is going to a live site demo and uploading some of their properties and seeing how they integrate within our platform and how our tools can help them hunt and gather more efficiently, quickly, at a lower price. Because what a lot of these guys do is they'll buy, one firm bought 74 properties last year, only closed on 22. So he has 52 properties that he spent time, money, effort on, at the tune of like $7.5 million to vet those properties that he never closed on. Well, that's a really big top line expense, and we can actually decrease their due diligence time and effort by conservatively 30-40%, which is unheard of in the market.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting because I did some work with a residential real estate group in Michigan recently, and I was kind of shocked when we were kind of doing initial discussions and discovery, kind of how fractured their sales processes were. Right, they didn't really have any data or metrics or analytics showing any lead conversion rate. Right, there was no way to tell what truly was in their funnel, whether it was diversified, large, small, big opportunities, potential opportunities, and then there was no way to really predictably see what was in a pipeline from a percentage standpoint of a closing percentage, and Next Steps was a huge part of that. And especially a close dates and an understanding and a good process of when these deals will be closing with the Next Steps. And it was a really kind of fractured process. Are you guys using CRMs in your business?
We do use CRMs in my business. I would tell you that that's not the norm. And what happens, unfortunately, in a lot of the residential end is the barrier to get a license is very low. So you get a lot of licensees out there. You get a lot of firms that the volume of agents is really just as important as the closed sales, where that's why I turn to scale everything down, where I have control over the team in a mentorship way, where I can say, okay, you just sold a property in Hazel Park. What are our next steps? Where are we at in the process? Where's our close date? How can I help you? Have you done X, Y, and Z? Then you teach X, Y, and Z. Then you teach X, Y, and Z. Then you hold X, Y, and Z accountable. But in the big firms, there's really no control or metrics like that. It's individual by individual. They might a lot of the real estate brokers in town give their agents all of these tools, and it's up to the individual agent a lot of times where they implement it. In my firm, we all implement it and we all work on it, because that's agreed upon if I hire you. And I probably get 6 to 10 people call me a month that want to work for me, and I might hire 3 a quarter. I mean, because I only want the right. My name's on the sign. My name's involved with the business, and I will not do anything to sully that with a half-assed attempt of selling real estate. Excuse the language. And that's what a lot of it comes out there. They're doing it, and there's some great part-time agents out there, but a lot of them don't work 40 hours a week. A lot of the great agents do, and there's some really, really phenomenal agents in the area that I would entrust, my second biggest decision in the world to, which, honestly, you'll hear me preach. Your first biggest decision is who you marry. And the second biggest decision, and one of the biggest decisions, second biggest decision financially, is what real estate you purchase, because that's a vehicle. That's usually where all of the savings that most people have are in the equity of their home, and it's a very serious matter, and that's why it causes my hair to fall out when people go on Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, and they deal with the first agent that answers their email inquiry on the property. Okay, come show me that property. Well, what does he or she know? What's the background? How are they going to get you successful in buying a property? And I just went through a whole scenario in Canton where one of the properties just sold for $70,000 over asking price. There's so little product out there that most properties that are priced correctly are going to be multiple offer solutions. And then you're a multiple offer, your reputation does count. The reputation of your firm does stand out and helps you win those or cost you those, depending upon where you're at in that analogy.
Yeah, and I know largely, like you said, there's a low barrier of entry into that industry, right? And
Yeah.
I think that largely that's one of the reasons why is because there's a lot of people looking for those easy wins. And I've heard a lot of real estate people talk about, it's a numbers game. They just got to get as many listings as they can. Is there any truth to that?
Well, listings in this market equal revenue for sure if they're presented the correct way and they're priced correctly. I would argue that the more professional you are, the less the numbers matter, because you're more focused and your reputation is such that the numbers will come to you. And I don't want 1,000 customers a month. That's not logical for me to be able to service. I want a small number of customers that are specific in their needs and wants, that actually have the ability to buy. And you also have another factor baked into it, because they have to usually get a loan. So picking your loan officer is almost just as important as picking your realtor, because your loan officer is integral in that purchase of the home. And again, I get inquiries and I'm like, who's your loan officer? And they'll say, XYZ out of Boise, Idaho. And I'm like, well, do you have a relationship with them? No, we were online and they were the cheapest. And I'm like, hey, this is a recipe for disaster. You're now just looking at cheap. You're not looking at what do I need to do to ensure success. And that's where I take a step back and I say, okay, we're going to talk about how you ensure success, because in this market, your loan officer and your realtor are quintessential for you to obtain that property, unless you just want to be highest bidder. Highest bidder doesn't always win. And unless you're prepared to bid high, waive the appraisal, waive the inspection, and then end up with an asset that might be a detriment down the road because you didn't inspect, Your appraiser told you it's worth 300, but you bid 370. So now you have to come up with another $70,000 from somewhere to close on that. It's proper analytics win the day. And in my world, the tighter you are with those analytics, the better off your success is going to be. And that's almost true with every market. And it's probably the same way when you were selling solutions back in your day, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I have a real estate customer out of Royal Oak, Michigan, and I've met with a few real estate groups in the area, right? And the theme always seemed to be the same, right? They have a strong idea, right, that they are the best at serving their customer, their consumer that's buying the house from them, right? And they have this idea that they're the best in customer support and service throughout that process of buying, right? So they're all selling that as the premier customer service or customer success agents in their industry. Everyone is saying that, right? And what I learned is that might be good, but they really cannot do that without a really great process in place to really support those customers. And I remember talking with a group of salespeople from a real estate group, and they basically said, we're not salespeople, we're real estate agents. And
Right.
we kind of had to level set on this idea of, why does sales have a dirty name in this industry, right? Why are you guys afraid to call yourselves salespeople? I'm not talking to you, Drew. I'm just talking to the young and up and comers that are working and filling all these roles in all these real estate groups that they may be right out of college. They may not be right out of college. And they don't want to be perceived as a salesperson. And I'm guessing they don't want to be perceived as a pushy salesperson that's using trickery to close deals and this. So there's a stigma around sales in the real estate business that, we're trying to get away from, to actually push value and to support customers in that space. So go ahead.
Well, a lot of what I see too in my marketplace, and you see being a salesperson, we're dealing with a lot of fear, fear of the unknown, fear of making the wrong decision. And in our processes, I have a good client. 3 years ago, I sold in Daytona Beach, Florida, and they had a lot of fear. And I had to address that fear as their salesperson and say, hey, listen, here's the numbers, here's the good, here's the bad, but the good solely outweighs the bad. And their feedback said to someone that referred him to me was he was a little pushy. And my comment to them was, where's your equity position at now? And they're like, no, we wanted you to push us because we weren't able to make the right decision because we had too much fear of the unknown, where you made that unknown knowledge and helped us through that scenario of fear to buy this property. And now they're sitting on $200,000 of equity in a short amount of time because I wasn't afraid to sell them on all of the positives. And I did explain the negatives, but I'm like, at the day's end, the positives outweigh the negatives, and you need to come to a decision that's best for you. The call to the decision is sometimes said to be a pushy salesperson, but the call to decision is what we get hired to do, is to give our expert opinion, give our advice, then handle the fear and trepidations to the point of a decision. And that decision could be no, and I'll respect that. And a lot of times I tell people, hey, listen, I'm going to give you all of my opinions. I'm I'm going to tell you what I think you should do. And at the end of the day, if you don't do it, it's your name on the check. I'm not going to have sore feelings over it. And I'll do it 1 or 2 times more. But if you pass up 3 or 4 opportunities, maybe we're not a good fit. And I've made a lot of money by saying no. I'm not going to deal with it. Made a lot of money by not dealing with that client. I made a lot of money by saying, hey, listen, and it was infamous back in the day where I'd get 25 homes that they want to see on a Saturday, and I'd come on in the office and we'll look at them. And I'm giving a little bit of my secrets away, but they'd come into my office and they would sit down very, very, very enthusiastically and say, are we going to look at 25 homes? I'm like, hell no, you're going to go crazy. I picked the top 7, and disappointment would come across their face. But 95% of the time, they'd buy one of the 7 of those homes, because I would go through and do all my homework on every one of their homes. I'd listen, and listening to your client is the key. When you listen to their needs, wants, and desires, you can formulate a strategic plan to minimize the time and maximize the effort in finding them a home. So a lot of times they would say, I don't want a home on a main street. And sure, there's 4 of the 25 on a main street. And I disallow those. But when I got to the 7, I'd say, I'm going to show you 7 homes. And if these 7 don't work, or we don't find a really good prospect among these 7, I'll come back out Sunday and I'll show you the other 18. And I've only had to do that 1 or 2 times in my whole career.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're leveraging.
Lost you on audio.
Yeah, sorry about that. It sounds like you're leveraging the value in investment piece pretty heavily through your sales process. In every sales, really, every buyer at some level is experiencing some pain, or they want to make a change for some reason. Can you talk to how you get to the root of that pain and then create a new value based on vision for their life and a change for their life that fills kind of that, I guess, space between where they are now and where they want to be outside of just the sphere of investment?
Well, there's the need of having a safe, workable, healthy home. The need might be in a good school district, or a school district where the public system is adequate enough for their children. There's a want, we all want the Taj Mahal. It's champagne taste on a beer budget. And there's a lot of times where the home looks beautiful, but then you walk down into the furnace room and you're like, okay, do you have $10,000? Because this is a 1974 Sears furnace. Same with the air conditioner. And you have bust fuses rather than circuit breakers. Yeah, I know the kitchen has granite, but now you have $15,000 worth of problems in the basement and only $3,000 worth of up in the kitchen. So you as a realtor have to know cost. You have to know quality of construction. You have to have a basic overview of the building process. In the past 5 years, I've done almost $60 million worth of luxury new construction representation, to the point where, we just built an $18 million home for a client, and I'm with them every step of the way, from their selections to their architectural to their final walkthrough. Then to see the builder's eyes roll back in their head when I hire a third-party inspector to go through the new construction home. And you laugh, but they do. The builder's like, well, we build it, we pull permits. Yeah, not enough. Reverse polarity on plugs, plugs that aren't hooked up. The biggest thing I see, and it'll drive you crazy, is the fact that they've been a lot of times in new trucks they put the bathroom fans into the attic. So when you turn on your hot shower, you're just ejecting warm, moist water into your attic, which is going to cause, that four-letter word no one likes to hear is mold, which mold in the attic is really simple to fix and curable. It's a non-livable space, so you don't worry about it as much. But when you're spending your hard-earned money on a home, you want a realtor that doesn't gloss over any problem, that they hit the problems in the head. They say, okay, this is solvable. Oh, wait a second, this isn't solvable. But when you close on the home, I'll have my contractor come out, and for $1,500, we'll clean up that attic and get it certified, and you'll have a warranty on it, because you have a little bit of mold growth in there, and it's more than likely because of circulation. But those are things that real estate firms don't teach. And those are the key effects to be successful as a realtor, in knowing all those variables.
What is what percentage of your buyers are first-time home buyers?
Early on in my career, it used to be 90%. As you go along through your career matrix, it's more like 10%. And I've gotten, some sadness in my heart is when a client says to me, Tom and Jenny just got married and they didn't think you dealt with $180,000 homes. I'll deal with any price. I just sold a $100,000 home in Detroit. It doesn't make a difference to me as long as I can serve my client in a positive fashion and I have enough bandwidth or time in order to do it. And the great thing about it is, with the lack of homes on the market, I have a lot more time.
Yeah, we rent a house in Detroit, actually, and I was looking at some houses down there in the Woodbridge neighborhood.
Yeah.
Those houses are like $500,000.
Yeah.
That's wild to me. I was shocked when we started looking down there, and my son goes to college down there, and he lives in the house we rent. And I was just blown. I was like, oh, we'll go buy a house down there. And nope, I'm not going to do it. It just wasn't worth everything that we had to do to it, put into it. And it's just an potentially unstable area to own a house. And there was so much work that needs to be done. So we're just renting down there. But there's a lot of new developments down there. Do you deal with non-commercial developers as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done a lot of land development over my career. I deal with all the major builders. One of the biggest land buyers in the state of Michigan is one of my good friends. We talk, probably 3-4 times a month, what he's seeing in his practice. He's a second generation land developer, sells to all the big boys. I've sold properties to Pulte and Toll Brothers over the years. I've done really small 5-acre developments where we do, 20 duet condos. I was involved in a project a couple of years ago where we were taking down a golf course and in condensing half the golf course into an executive 9-hole with a par 3 course in and around the condos, almost a Florida-esque community. We didn't get that one to the closing table, but learned a lot of insight there. And now what you see in Metro Detroit is you see either a lot of infill and small homes going into the city, or you see it pushing out to where, Oxford used to be Cowtown, and now Oxford's a viable solution. Brandon Township's a viable solution, just sold one there. And the affordability moves north in Detroit. So if you can't afford Royal Oak, you might be able to afford Oxford, Lake Orion, Metamora, Brandon, Bruce Township, because they're a little bit off the beaten path. And also what's changed the dynamic of real estate is the COVID lockdown, and a lot of people now work from home. And that working from home is really changed the landscape, especially I see in Marquette, Michigan, where you've seen property values jump 20, 30, 40% within a couple years because everyone's working remotely in God's country up there with Lake Superior and the Porcupine Mountains and fresh air and loving it.
I love those Porcupine Mountains, man. We go up there every year.
Yep.
Do some mountain biking up there. There's some really good overlooks up there. It's a beautiful area. That's in a northern upper peninsula in Michigan. For those of you nationally who don't know, it's worth the trip, definitely.
You got to get across the bridge for sure. My whole up north experience was lower peninsula till Sam went to college up there. Then when I got to starting to explore the upper peninsula, I was like, oh my God. We walked the dog on the Lake Superior beach for an hour before we saw a human being. It's just pristine and natural. And the Hiawatha National Forest is like, I don't know, it's like 55,000 acres. It's a sight to be seen up there.
And so do new real estate agents, do they ever go right into luxury real estate? Or is that something you get over time, years of in the industry, and you kind of fall into your own into that space?
Great question. HGTV has made everyone, wanting to be a luxury real estate, driving a Bentley and a Ferrari and throwing parties at $10 million mansions. But the fact of the matter remains, a gentleman by the name of George Dinu, Brown Spun Baking Company in Detroit, told me a long time ago, deal with the masses, eat with the classes, deal with the classes, you eat with the masses. And I would, to answer your question, it would depend upon your connections. I've seen real estate agents in their first 5 years of doing this sell a lot of luxury properties because that's the environment that they grew up in. That's where their sphere of influence is. Then I've seen a lot of agents have to start off with, the entry level stuff. I started off with the entry level stuff and have worked my way up consistently. And, depending upon the day, sometimes I like the entry level a lot more than the upper level. And, in payday, I like the upper level a lot more than the entry level. But it all makes a living. I wouldn't coin myself as just a luxury agent. Even the greatest luxury agents in town still deal with first-time home buyers. They still will list in $100,000 homes. I would say real estate's a very specific personal journey. I don't like the fact that a lot of agencies have become marketing agencies where they throw the leads down to their lower agents and make their lower agents go show all the homes because those agents don't have the experience that someone like I do or one of my team. You take my top agent, TJ Zawicki, and he's selling $25-30 million worth of real estate a year and deals.
Shout out to TJ.
Yeah, TJ's really, really, really amazing. And
How old's TJ?
TJ's I would say TJ's in his late 30s, but he's a health nut, so he's rocking abs and 22-inch arms, so he almost looks like he's in his early 30s. So he has the blessings of genetics, but he does things the right way, and he'll deal with any 80,000 or 8 million. It doesn't matter.
Hustler.
Yeah, just a hustler, but a hustler in the right sense, where he serves his customer first, then himself second. So if you don't serve your customer, someone else will.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're really not a hustler if you're hustling people, right?
Right. You're not.
You got to be an empathetic hustler, and and with integrity.
With
Absolutely.
integrity, absolutely.
So, Drew, as the expert in your space, right? What advice would you give to an up and coming, entrepreneurial minded new real estate agent, say in their young 20s, mid 20s? What advice would you give to some of these new guys?
Turn off HGTV, learn your craft, and by learning your craft, you become very specific in your knowledge of the paperwork on what it takes to buy or sell a house. You know the cadence and the order in which to do it. You know construction, so you take time out and you find a builder that's willing to teach you what they do, how they do it, and you sit on every home inspection that you can find out there within your organization, and you follow the home inspector around quietly and take notes. Then you find a mentor like me or someone that has become iconic in the industry that's willing to teach you. And there's a lot of us out there. I have a very good friend in the Birmingham Bloomfield market that is one of the best agents, and his biggest complaint is he can't find anyone that will do things the way he does them, which is very, very specific and very client centric and orientated. And he's doing, he'll probably do 60-70 million this year just by himself. And he gets up at 6 a.m. every day. He's on the computer every day, and he does from stem to stern. He does everything himself because he can't find a younger person that will buy in 110% to the craft. If you're going to be a welder, you get with the best welder and you learn from that best welder. You put in a lot of painstaking hours that doesn't equal revenue in your pocket, but you're building your education and you're building your foundation. So when you do get that client, you can serve them properly and know emphatically that you're doing the right job and the best job that client deserves.
So for you young sales guys, you young sales real estate agents, you learn the trade, you research, continue to grow, and you get a mentor, and you be willing to put the work in and do what you're told for a certain amount of years until you can come into your own and start making the real money. That's how it is in sales. You got to be humble at first, put yourself out there, and be willing to follow a process and follow a mentor that knows what they're doing. That's really good advice, Drew. Thanks for that.
You're welcome, Patrick.
We're really at the top of the hour here. We're past time. I just want to say thank you, Drew, for joining us today here at Sales and Cigars at Smokies in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, at Square Lake and Woodward. It's still raining out. It's supposed to be nicer this weekend, I think. But guys, if you haven't yet, get to go ahead. What's your website, Drew?
You can reach me at CMA, so Colburn McDonald Associates Michigan, MI.com. So CMAMI.com or 248-320-7007.
And go ahead and check out marketmakercre.com to look at Drew's CRE platform. It's really great. There's a lot of really good information on the website right now. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Innovative Selling Partners and innovativesellingpartners.com. With that, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Go have a cigar and loop us into the conversation. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.
Make it a great day. Thank you.